Today's gospel passage is perhaps a bit difficult to listen to. Not only is it lengthy, but it contains some clear-cut moral guidelines that the contemporary world often finds difficult to hear. And because whether we realize it or not, we are also very much influenced by the culture in which we live. We may find ourselves feeling a bit uneasy with some of the contents of this passage as well. But before we either tune this particular passage out as not typical of the nice guy Jesus, or dismiss it as not in sync at all with our contemporary wisdom and situation, we should look at the passage in context. We must remember that this is a continuation of that chapter of St. Matthew's Gospel that we began reading a couple of weeks ago. Indeed, it is part of the Sermon on the Mount, which began with the Beatitudes, which, while very poetic and pleasing to the ear, if we look at them, are no less challenging than some of the things that Jesus says in this part of that sermon. In beginning his ministry, Jesus was addressing the situation of the people of his day. They were searching, not quite content, confused perhaps about the path they needed to take to righteousness, not convinced that following the letter of the law, as the scribes and Pharisees were urging them to do, was the real way to find God and to please God. Jesus, in essence, sees their questions, and he says, do you want to be happy? Do you want to do what's right in the eyes of God and please God? Then don't dismiss the law or the sayings of the prophets, because everything contained therein is not only very good, it's also necessary. But if you want to find joy in doing this, rather than experiencing it as some form of drudgery, follow the law not out of fear of God, but out of love of God. Are we not living in a world today that makes the same mistake? Don't many people misunderstand religion as merely institutions that enforce rules and regulations that limit people's freedom and so impede their pursuit of happiness? Yet would Jesus tell us anything different today? The answer is probably not. He would simply encourage us and all the people of our contemporary world to rediscover the heart of religion, which is love of God and love of neighbor. And if we look at the rules Jesus encourages his disciples to follow, we will see that these can only be carried out joyfully if done so with love at the center. If the world around us does not understand religion and rejects organized religion as burdensome, then what is to blame more than people of religion who approach its practice as a joyless obligation? So as we move now closer to the season of Lent, that most religiously oriented time of our year, let us prepare ourselves for that by fully embracing not only the letter of the law, but its spirit. And that spirit of conversion of heart, once again, that is of self-discipline and self-sacrifice for the sake of transformation rather than just obligation, so that our righteousness will truly exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees. Indeed, when others not connected with the community of faith observe us coming to Mass on Sunday, abiding by moral guidelines, engaging in penitential practices, may they see us doing this not out of fear, not because we have to, but because we want to. Indeed, may the motive of all we do be love. Love of God, love of others. And thus may we rediscover the joy of the discipline that is discipleship.